a fortune worth billions of dollars is hidden somewhere on Earth. Missing for over 700 years, it leaves a void where immense wealth once sat. The Knights Templar, the most dominant military organization of the Middle Ages, meticulously documented this treasure before its final destination was lost to history. No historical record confirms where these assets were moved. Because the paper trail ends abruptly, the disappearance remains a mathematical and historical paradox. To track how billions of dollars evaporate in a single morning, we have to treat the order not as a group of warriors, but as a financial institution. This is a medieval forensic investigation. In 1119, Jerusalem's capture during the First Crusade drew thousands of Christian pilgrims across thousands of miles of unfamiliar, dangerous territory. The journey was a gauntlet. Travelers faced constant threats from local bandits, organized thieves, and hostile armies waiting in the mountain passes. Survival required carrying months of funding in physical gold and silver. These heavy bags made pilgrims high-value targets, often turning their life savings into a primary reason for their murder on the road. 9 French knights stepped into this security vacuum, forming a military order dedicated to a single, radical promise, providing a safe corridor for every traveler. Their early records describe a state of extreme poverty. The order's own seal, showing 2 knights sharing a single horse, served as a literal representation of their lack of resources. These 9 men realized that physical guards were insufficient for the scale of the threat. To protect the pilgrims' wealth, they moved the assets off the road and into a conceptual system where thieves could no longer reach them. The knights developed a workaround that bypassed the dangerous roads entirely. A traveler could visit a Templar stronghold in Europe and deposit their physical gold into the order's vault for safekeeping. In exchange for the coins, the Templars issue a coded document. This parchment recorded the deposit's value, rendering it useless to bandits. Upon arriving in Jerusalem, the traveler presented the document. Once verified, the knights paid out the equivalent value in local currency. This system functioned as a medieval checking account. By charging a service commission for every deposit and withdrawal, the Templars turned the concept of safety into a scalable, revenue-generating business. This financial architecture effectively removed the target from the pilgrim's back. It transformed the Templars into the most trusted and essential financial network in the Western world. Service fees collected at both ends of the pilgrimage routes generated a massive surplus of capital. The order reinvested these profits into thousands of estates, farms, and commercial shipping fleets across Europe. Their fortified castles provided the physical infrastructure for this wealth. These stone chambers became the world's first secure bank vaults, protected by the most elite soldiers of the era. The clientele soon expanded beyond common pilgrims. Wealthy merchants, high-ranking nobles, and eventually ruling monarchs began relying on the Templars for large-scale loans and international wire transfers. The Templars had evolved into a multinational corporation with economic leverage over entire nations. They operated outside the jurisdiction of local kings, answerable only to the Pope. This success created a dangerous imbalance of power. When a private organization holds an empire's debt, the debtor often finds it easier to destroy the bank than to pay back the loan. King Philip IV of France was the order's most powerful debtor. His treasury was empty, and his government was essentially insolvent due to the massive sums he owed the Templars. Philip realized he could solve his debt crisis by simply removing the creditor. He began a secret campaign to frame the order, preparing to execute a total liquidation of their assets. In a single coordinated strike on October 13, 1307, Philip's agents arrested every Templar in France. It was a simultaneous raid designed to catch the order's leadership and their treasures in place. This decapitation of the order is the moment the physical treasure vanished. When the king's men reached the central vaults, the gold and ledgers Philip expected to find had already been moved. King Philip's strike functioned as a hostile takeover. He bypassed the Templars' legendary military strength and destroyed the order through a sudden, total financial liquidation. While the physical gold was never recovered, the Templars' true innovation was their ledger system. That architecture survived the fall of the Knights and continued to evolve. Their medieval credit network provided the conceptual foundation for modern international banking. The protocols we use for wire transfers and digital payments are the direct descendants of the Templars' coded parchments. Every time you use a credit card to pay for a service in a foreign country, you are utilizing the logistical solution developed by 9 French knights 900 years ago. The disappearance of the Templar gold remains a mystery, but their story serves as a reminder that even the most powerful financial networks can be dismantled when they become a threat to the governments that rely on them. Friday the 13th is often treated as a quirk of the calendar, a day to avoid black cats or ladders, but historians point to this date in 1307 as the root of the legend, marking a king's coordinated political and financial cover-up. This stone relief shows 2 Knights Templar sharing a single horse, a symbol of the strict vow of poverty they took upon their founding. But by the early 1300s, that holy mandate had given way to staggering wealth. The Templars had become the bankers of the medieval world. King Philip IV of France was drowning. Decades of expanding his territory through relentless military campaigns had completely drained the royal treasury, leaving the French crown severely in debt. The situation was dire, but the identity of the lender made it lethal. Philip's single largest creditor was the Knights Templar themselves. When a king owes the equivalent of billions to a heavily armed, fully independent military bank, the math is uncompromising. You either find a way to pay them back, or you erase the institution so the debt disappears with them. Philip devised a lethal accounting trick. He would execute a nationwide corporate raid, masking his financial desperation as a holy purge of a corrupt order. Weeks in advance, royal couriers fanned out across the French countryside. They carried bundles of sealed orders, delivering them to local commanders in absolute secrecy. Attached to every dispatch was a strict, unbending directive. The wax seals were not to be broken until a highly specific, synchronized moment. From Paris, the orders reached every corner of France, planting the king's trap in remote outposts. For a month, these documents sat dormant. Local troops went about their routines, completely unaware of the coordinated violence resting in their commander's hands. This was a modern, state-sponsored surprise attack, engineered entirely to eliminate a financial liability before the victims even knew they were in danger. The waiting ended long before sunrise on Friday, October 13, 1307. Across the entire country, commanders simultaneously tore open their royal dispatches and read the king's orders. The mobilization was instant. Within minutes, royal soldiers breached Templar strongholds. Hundreds of knights were dragged from their beds in the dark, caught entirely off guard by history's first synchronized mass arrest. The arrest warrants listed a series of horrifying charges. The crown accused them of heresy, devil worship, conducting secret rituals, and spitting on the cross. Many Templars did eventually admit to these acts, but the inquisitors secured those statements through extreme, prolonged physical torture. Subjected to unbearable agony, a prisoner's mind fractures. They will ultimately confirm whatever narrative their interrogator demands, just to make the pain stop. Philip had zero interest in divine justice. The charges were pure political theater, designed to legally justify stripping the Templars of their massive wealth. With the arrests underway, Philip's elite forces descended on the primary target, the Central Templar headquarters in Paris. They expected to walk into a vault packed with the physical evidence of the Templars' immense power. Mountains of silver, physical gold, priceless sacred reliquaries, and the financial ledgers of European nobility. But when the soldiers finally broke into the inner sanctum, they found nothing. The vaults were entirely empty. Philip had flawlessly executed a highly complex nationwide sweep. Yet in a matter of hours, the most powerful monarch in Europe realized the greatest fortune on earth had vanished without a single trace. The only historical clue to where that wealth went points toward the western coast of France. Witnesses reported highly unusual activity near these massive stone towers guarding the port of La Rochelle just before the arrests began. According to accounts, a secretive fleet of roughly 18 heavily loaded Templar ships slipped out of the harbor and into the open Atlantic. From the moment those ships left the French coast, they were erased from history. There is no official record of them making port, unloading cargo, or ever being seen again. Did the fleet sail north to the safety of Scotland? Did they head south to Portugal or into the Mediterranean? Or did they chart a course to somewhere entirely uncharted? By successfully evading the King's dragnet, those 18 ships turned a brutal medieval massacre into a 700-year obsession for treasure hunters across the globe. While the physical treasure remains lost, the mechanics of Philip's raid left a permanent blueprint on modern history. He drew the operational template for authoritarian regimes. The synchronization of state violence, the weaponization of the justice system, and the rapid seizure of assets are tactics continuously deployed by governments today. The psychological impact of this sudden betrayal is frequently cited by historians as the root of a deep cultural scar. The reason the calendar still prompts a sense of dread when the 13th falls on a Friday. Those 18 vanished ships represent the successful escape of a global financial institution from a tyrant's grasp. If you were commanding that fleet of 18 ships, loaded with the centuries of gold and sacred relics that vanished that night, where would you have hidden them? Let us know in the comments below. What happens when the financial backbone of the medieval world vanishes overnight, leaving no paper trail or physical trace behind? The Knights Templar operated the first true multinational bank, managing royal fortunes and controlling vast territories across Europe and the Levant. In 1307, the French king launched a coordinated raid to seize that fortune. He arrested the knights and burned their leaders, yet his tax collectors found the treasury vaults completely empty. For 7 centuries, historians and treasure hunters have followed the trail of this missing wealth, chasing 3 distinct theories that lead from the coast of Scotland to the shores of the New World. The void where that wealth should be has turned a 700-year-old accounting error into history's most resilient cold case. The first trail leads away from the centers of medieval power, pointing toward the rugged shores of the north, a place beyond the immediate reach of the Pope. In the early 1300s, Scotland offered a unique political loophole. Its king, Robert the Bruce, had been excommunicated, meaning his territory was free from the jurisdiction of the French crown and the papacy. Local legends claim that the missing Templar fleet arrived here just before the Battle of Bannockburn, where a group of mysterious, highly disciplined knights suddenly appeared to break the English lines. If the knights did turn the tide at Bannockburn, it suggests their ships were carrying a mobile command center rather than simple cargo. In this version of history, the gold was liquidated to buy the only thing that could ensure their future, a kingdom's protection. A second, more extreme theory suggests the Templar fleet sailed entirely off the medieval map, crossing the Atlantic Ocean to a tiny landmass off the coast of Nova Scotia. This is Oak Island, where the 1795 discovery of a mysterious depression in the ground ignited a grueling 200-year excavation effort known as the Money Pit. Diggers uncovered a bizarre subterranean structure. They found repeating wooden platforms at regular intervals and elaborate flood tunnels engineered to fill the shaft with seawater the moment anyone dug too deep. Breaking into this structure has cost millions of dollars in modern engineering equipment, and over the decades, 7 people have died trying to reach the bottom. The complexity of the trap raises a difficult question. What physical object requires an impossible transatlantic voyage and a lethal underground fortress to keep it hidden? Perhaps the search for underground vaults and buried chests misses the mark entirely. We may have spent 7 centuries looking for the wrong kind of wealth. The foundation of the Templars' influence dates back to their original headquarters in the Middle East, where they spent years excavating beneath the ancient foundations of Jerusalem. Historical rumors suggest they unearthed relics of immense biblical significance, such as the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail itself. The idea that these sacred items were brought back to Europe and hidden away has deeply embedded itself in global culture, inspiring countless myths and modern conspiracy theories. Possessing these relics would have provided leverage that no amount of gold could match, offering the order a way to dictate terms to the very monarchs who tried to destroy them. Today, the case remains officially open. No mountains of medieval gold and no divine artifacts have ever been formally recovered from the earth. It is entirely possible the remaining wealth was buried too securely for modern tools to reach, or that it was quietly excavated and dispersed centuries ago without a trace. But the physical location of the hoard is secondary to its enduring psychological grip. The human drive to solve the unknown consistently outlasts the value of any material object. Ultimately, the true legacy of the Knights Templar is the unkillable mystery they left waiting in the dark. So if you possessed the map, would you risk your life to open that final door? Or are some of these historical secrets simply meant to remain exactly where they are, hiding forever in the shadows?